Hey, what's up guys? Sir Amanon here. So I'm bringing to you guys today an updated version of my Danger Dark Lunalight build that I actually took this past Saturday to the Lockhaven Regionals in Pennsylvania. Now this was a very exciting experience. I got to actually take my deck and pit it up against the meta decks, which was actually quite fortunate that I faced a lot of the meta. I've played against 2 Thunder Dragons, 2 Burning Abyss, 1 Sky Striker, 1 Altergeist, 1 Prank Kids, and 1 Goki Rongo Miniad, so quite a diverse field, but still against some of the strongest decks in the meta, as well as some good rogue contenders. So there were 211 players in this event, which meant that there were 8 rounds of Swiss and 32 invites to the NAWCQ. I managed to go 6-2 with somewhat poor tiebreakers, unfortunately, so I ended up in 21st place. Still getting my invite, but I would have liked to have done a little bit better with it. I think that overall the deck performed actually very well and even exceeded my expectations a bit, just that I kind of made some individual misplays. But essentially, I kept the build mostly the same as with the last video, which I'll link in the description below. But I did make a couple of major changes that actually affects the way that the strategy was being played overall. But it is still a go first combo deck. We're still trying to make a big board, still trying to set up Azathoth. But with a couple of the changes in mind, there are actually some key components that I need to talk about in terms of what my build was overall trying to do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just get right into it. So of course, we're starting off with the obligatory 3 copies of Lunalight Kaleido, the most important potent starter combo piece enabler of the deck. Non-once per turn Armageddon Knight for a cost, which is absolutely crazy, and if banished via Wolf, you basically just get to lock out their entire battle phase, which is pretty good in securing the game. Kaleido obviously is a card you want to have access to ASAP. Nothing really much to explain here. Next we got the 3 copies of Lunalight Tiger. The best card in the deck, quite honestly. It's the most abusable card. Non-once per turn Monster Reborn, or not hard once per turn Monster Reborn. And the cool thing is actually the negation is quite useful because it helps us dodge Widow Anchor. It helps us obviously get enough plays on board for our Xyz plays, our Link plays, etc. And it basically just allows us to keep fueling in the grind game, even if the game goes past turn 3 or 4. We can still have enough board presence to just make a Boros Sword out of nowhere, make a fusion out of nowhere, and just kill them. So that's quite nice. And of course, we can pop our own Tiger when we summon Dark monsters or Dark Xyz monsters to zones that Bartership points to. We can even pop it with our own Tornado Dragon under Imperial Order and stuff. Cool things like that that allow us to just continually reuse this card over and over and over again. Next up, the 2 copies of Yellow Marten. I think this is pretty standard in terms of the ratio. I don't think you should play any less or more. You want the first one in case it actually does get banished by its own effect. Or rather, the second one in case the first one gets banished by its own effect. Or if it gets called by the grave, which happened to me quite a bit actually. But yeah, Archetypal Zephyros that allows you to search a Lunalight spell or trap if sent to the grave via a card effect. Very, very powerful effects that honestly a lot of the build is focused around. You kind of just want to make use of this card in tandem with your other engine pieces to generate as much fuel as you can. Next up, we got the one-ofs. We got the Emerald Bird and we got the Wolf. So the Emerald Bird, I cut from 2 to 1. I'm still iffy on this ratio because I really do want to play 2 of it. And honestly, I even considered playing 3 after the event. Just because like if you don't have access to Kaleido, Emerald Bird is just the next best play you have. Not only does it help you trigger things like a copy of Yellow Marten or even a copy of itself if it comes down to it, you can really just generate a lot of extensive plays if you happen to mill it off Curious, if you happen to send it from your hand to grave via Serenade Dance and other things like that. So I really like having it for its utility, and I would consider bumping it up maybe, if nothing else, just for more level 4s and graves so that Tiger can make use of it better, because sometimes you do run low on monsters in this build. But I think that 1 is okay, 2 is probably more ideal, maybe play 3, not entirely sure on that one. And then Wolf, of course, is the archetypal Miracle Fusion. Honestly, I don't see a point in playing more than 1. I never missed having more than 1, and the times I did open it, it was actually kind of bricky for me. I'd rather just, summon it off a Tiger and then bounce it back with Marten, or just straight up search it off Perfume's effect. So that's it for the Lunalight monsters. We're going to go into the Dark Engine next. So for the Dark engine, we have the 3 copies of Dark Grepher. This is honestly one of the most integral starter cards if you don't see Kaleido Chick, or even if you do see it alongside Kaleido Chick, it just helps make your board even better. There are times where if you have access to Grepher, you can pretty much set up to where your Curious can just mill whatever you need, mostly Imperial order, which we'll get to later. Because you can actually sometimes dump Zephyros and it's fine. You don't have to rely on Force Tricks for it. It's still very good at triggering Yellow Marten, of course, and sometimes you can trigger Emerald Bird as well. I'll talk about it a bit more in my regional profile, or rather report, but essentially I could have made better use of this card a little bit in terms of actually playing, but I mean, I wouldn't cut this card from this iteration of the build just because it's an extra type for Curious, and it just does everything you want. Triggers your danger package, triggers Lunalight effects. It just does everything. Next up, we got the Armageddon Knight. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. It's better in a bad hand, but worse in a good hand. In a good hand, you actually kind of want to pitch Dark Monsters just to be able to fuel your graveyard a bit more. And if it gets ashed, it's really not good if you can't extend. But yeah, Armageddon Knight is obviously very, very powerful. We got the Zephyros still, of course, because, archetypal Zephyros isn't enough. Just want to keep bouncing back Tiger. And that's essentially what you're trying to do first turn, is always make use of Tiger. I kind of reoriented my combo string a little bit to where you can make Rusty Bardache first. And the cool thing with that is if you have Perfume access already, which a lot of the time you do, you can actually obviously use the Perfume to pitch the Zephyros, and then the Cloak searches the Boots, which you can special, and then you can bounce Tiger back with the Zephyros, and then Tiger brings back another card. So that's right there, 3 types, Warrior, Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast to go into Curious after you make Bardache, which is super cool because of an interaction I'll get to a bit later. But yeah, it's just a fantastic card, definitely a staple, I think. And then we got the 1 copy of Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Frisian. I was not playing this card, and then I was playing this card, I was not playing this card. I put it back in just because I had a couple of friends who were main decking evenly matched, and I realized my board really does not have any insulation against that card whatsoever, and I really just wanted a way to, make use of it if I needed to. If I drew it, it's good. If I milled it off Curious, it was good. If I directly sent it off Curious, it's good. Works with Grepher, stuff like that. I really just wanted to make sure I had Dragster included to play around evenly matched, and that was pretty much it. So that's it for the Dark package. We're going to move on to the Dangers. So the Danger lineup I kept exactly the same. It's 3 Nessie, 1 Snake, and 1 Jackalope. Basically, this is what ties everything together, because if you pitch cards like Emerald Bird and Yellow Marten, they get their effects. You can pitch Zephyros, you can end up pitching Serenade Dance. If they hit themselves, it's obviously not ideal, but it's not bad because you'll eventually get an extra type on board for Curious or Bardache as material, so totally fine. Obviously Nessie and Grepher together are completely mental. I didn't actually draw them together in the tournament very much, I think only once or twice, but it came up a lot in testing, so it was totally justified to play these ratios. And of course, Danger monsters themselves can be pitched off of Perfume's Graveyard effect to generate even more advantage, which is just crazy. Oh my goodness. But yeah, these cards were fantastic. And then we got the Phantom Knight package. So we got the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots and Ancient Cloak, of course. It's essential to try and set up the Cloak engrave so you can search the Boots, which gives you another type on board for Curious, like I said earlier. Really good stuff. You just get more searches, and you get more link fodder on board turn 1, which is what this deck is trying to do in the first place. So very, very good stuff. The Phantom Knight engine, I think, if nothing else, even more pure builds should definitely play the Phantom Knights, just because they go so well in the deck. They're incredible. Bardache is just broken. But yeah, that's it for the engine cards. And then the last minute adjustment that I made to the deck the Friday before was add 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. This isn't necessarily because I thought that Ash was a powerful card or a necessary card to combat the meta, or even that I was fearing losing the die roll to a combo deck and wanting a hand trap. I mean, it's cool if that comes up, sure, but honestly, I wanted a card that was flexible enough to where I could justify maining it, but also have the versatility to actually take out in siding, because I realized if I was playing, like, say, 44 or something pure engine cards, I would have absolutely no space to side deck, nothing to be able to take out, and that would be very, very hugely problematic, and I did not want that at all. So Ash went in. It performed all right, actually. I stopped a Brilliant Fusion with it. I stopped an Engage with it. Stuff like that. It wasn't like winning me the game on its own ever, but it was just nice extra utility to have. So that's going to be it for the monster cards. We're going to move on to the spells now. All right, so the spell cards, we still got the staples. 3 Tenki searches like pretty much everything in some way, shape, or form. In terms of the Lunalights, of course. The 3 Perfume, more Monster Reborns, obviously, and then 3 Goods. Goods just did very well, and Goods is actually especially important in the Thunder Dragon matchup because you need to send Serenade Dance there, because Serenade Dance allows you to get a level 4 Beast Warrior, and then you can normal another one, or maybe set up with Tiger, and there's a very important Exceeds monster, aka Tiger King, that helps very, very much in the Thunder Dragon matchup, which I'll cover a bit more later on. But yeah, Goods, super, super strong, just to be able to make your Curious more explosive. That's pretty much like the entire premise of putting it in to begin with. I really liked it. 3 Called by the Grave, of course. You want to stop those hand traps, but also it's good against Ray. It's good against like interrupting Titan so that your Tiger King play goes through. Because if they pop Tiger King on summon, it can kind of be rough. But Called by the Grave actually is good in the respect where you can just chain it to whatever Thunder Dragon monster they're trying to use in hand, so that, unless they have 2 pops for the Titan, they're not going to be able to actually, go through with it. So that's pretty cool. So that's it for the 3 ofs for the spells. Next up, we got the more powerful 1-ofs. So we got Reinforcement of the Army, Search Out Grepher or Armageddon Knight. I searched out Grepher more. I think I said this the first deck profile, but Grepher is just generally going to be better unless your hand is like not very good and you kind of need to go for broke, so to speak. But if you have the means to use Grepher's effect, I think you should go for it, just because like pitching a Lunalight if you have a Tiger in hand already means that Ash is a lot less good there. So yeah, I really like it. Reborn and Soul Charge. I actually dropped Foolish, but I'm still between Foolish and Reborn. I think Reborn's better against Thunder Dragon because, again, you just need to bypass any searching. But you could argue that Foolish can help if you have a Reborn card already. So it's like the probability of opening a Foolish card versus a Reborn card, which I didn't actually calculate, and I should do next time. But both cards are very good. I would maybe consider trying to find space, but this build was actually 46 cards, so yeah. I really hated playing that number, but it kind of just ended up being that way due to the way my sighting patterns worked out, as well as how many engine cards I could justify fitting in there. And then the Soul Charge, which is just Soul Charge, as well as we got the Phantom Knight Rank Up Magic launch. Super good. People read Thanatos and just didn't understand what was happening, and then I flipped up the Rank Up Magic and summoned Azathoth, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. That's Yu-Gi-Oh! So, yep, that's it for those spells. We're going to go on to the traps now. So, for the traps, we got the Serenade Dance, Shade Brigandine, Fog Blade, and Imperial Order as our traps. Imperial Order is great if you're hard drawed, of course, against stuff like Striker or Thunder Dragon or like Prank Kids and stuff going first. But if you send it off Curious and then set it with Griffin, which was the way I was beating Striker this time, I figured that was, just as easy to pull off as, doing the goal ball play with a Nat Beast that I was doing earlier with Ripidocus. But I realized that you could just use Griffin instead, and it takes up 1 less extra deck space, and you get a Floodgate on the field with the Imperial Order, so it's just super, super good. And then the other cards I think are pretty self-explanatory. I explained my Serenade Dance is already super good. Brigandine's great to hard draw just because it's an extra extender. And then Fog Blade is nice when you either brick or are staring down, a bunch of monster-heavy decks, and you just kind of want to slow down the pace of the game. That's what that's there for. So we're going to move on from the main deck to the extra deck now. So the extra deck is 1 copy of Lunalight Saber Dancer and 1 copy of Dragster for the Fusion and Synchro. So you'll notice that there's no Luna or Leo Dancer, there's no Panther Dancer. which, don't get me wrong, in a lot of cases, I'd rather have Leo Dancer than Saber Dancer, but it's just the fact of the matter that like I was so scared of not having Distrito and Dragster as toolboxing capabilities for going first, that I had to make that change. Going forward, I don't think it was hugely necessary, so I would definitely retool this build even more. But for what it's worth, Saber Dancer got the job done a lot. It's just that, you know, sometimes you want that extra oomph, you know, to your play. In a more pure centric build, I would say it's better to run a combination of these cards and not leave out Saber or Leo Dancer. You can cut Cat Dancer probably for sure, but yeah, just having the options is very nice. And then we got the Dragster, of course, which I explained earlier. Insulation from evenly matched or other like spells and traps alongside your board. It's just the final piece of the puzzle that gets everything going. So that's it for those monsters. Moving on to the Xyz here, we got Forstrix, Thanatos, Azathoth, and then we have Tiger King, Tornado Dragon, and Evil Swarm Nightmare. So these are the Xyz monsters that I played. Forstrix is a very, very good combo piece to have. You just want access to Zephyros, and you don't want to have to rely on Curious for it. So it's just kind of nice to tutor it out directly, and then if you have Perfume access, then you're pretty much good to go. Azathoth and the Thanatos combo is pretty much your win condition against the majority of decks going first. Even going second, sometimes like after you break their board, you just need something to end on. And then like, cause you might have to use your battle phase to like clear their stuff, but you can't kill them that turn. So you just go main phase 2, you can set up like with a Bardiche play and then go into Azathoth on their next turn, you know, just cold wave them out of the monster effects, and then you can just go ahead and win from there. Super, super good stuff. And Thanatos is actually just a big beat stick sometimes. It actually came up a couple times, so I just summoned it and went for game. Tiger King, I've already explained, is super good in the Thunder Dragon matchup. You just declare that you're activating its ignition effect, and then you can go ahead and negate all of their monsters and then flip up your Tenki that you just put on the field and then go ahead and pop off. Tornado Dragon was nice against back row decks. I played one Altergeist, like I said. It was good there. It was just nice utility, good to secure games. It was good against Striker too. The Evil Swarm Nightmare was not very good. In hindsight, it's not very surprising. It's good against rogue decks, but a lot of the meta decks just don't really care about it. I'd say it's the best against BA and Prank Kids, and like Pendulum, which are all like, you know, you can see those decks, but like typically if you're ending on Azathoth anyway, like who really cares at that point? So that's one of the cards I would maybe consider cutting, but I would rather have had the option to have it rather than, you know, anything else in particular. But yeah, it wasn't the best. So we're going to move on to the Link monsters. And for these Link monsters, we got the suite of good stuff. So we got Underclock Taker, we got the Playmakers in Curious and the Rusty Bardiche, and we also have Borosword Dragon, and then Nightmares, Griffin, Unicorn, and Phoenix. I kind of missed having Darumidol. Darmidol. I kind of missed having it. Sometimes it's just great to pop Tiger and keep extending, but I figured that Phoenix was more generic and I couldn't fit space for both. Unicorn was very nice for me the entire event. It was just nice to be able to clear stuff and then go for game afterward. Underclock is not only a stepping stone for Bardiche, but it's just good to secure OTK sometimes. Borosword came in very handy, especially because I wasn't running Leo Dancer. If I was running Leo Dancer, I would maybe consider cutting Borosword, but it's just like you have so many spare resources, like so many monsters, that you can justify having 4 Link materials used all up for a Borosword because, you know, Wolf is a Miracle Fusion anyway, right? So that's cool. Griffin was actually really, really strong. Like even after your Azathoth kind of fizzles, like after the first turn, like I had a guy, the Thunder Dragon guy, he sided Threatening Roar for some reason, and he Threatening Roared me after I Azathothed him. So Griffin was an essential part of my strategy in the extended game, I should say. And yeah, Curious and Bardiche are pretty much the MVPs. You want to make one or both every time going first. And going second, even, it's still quite good to just be able to set up and just go for massive amounts of damage afterward. So yeah, that's the extra deck. Going on to the side deck, which I actually have everything just laid out in a row here. So we got 2 Radiant, Destrudo. I know this is looking really weird, right? Abyss Dweller, 3 Twin Twisters. We got Impermanence, 2 Evenly Matched, and 3 Red Reboot. So I'll go over each of these and explain my reasoning. So for the 2 Radiants, I wanted Kaijus for making Striker going second a bit easier to handle, as well as like some stuff like BA, maybe Pendulum, maybe, probably not, but yeah, it's just really nice to have in case where like if you draw multiples, you can just pitch it off Greffer or special Greffer with a summoning condition and just be fine. So Dark Kaiju, pretty good there. Came up a couple times. Oh, of course against Thunder Dragon too. How could I forget? I primarily sided it against Thunder Dragon. Very, very good at turning off the Titan, actually. Titan's a bigger problem just because Tiger King's pretty easy to get to, so just want to shut off the Titan and make sure that they can't pop your stuff. We got the one Destrudo. Okay, so this is like the weirdest card in the side deck here. The theory was going first, again, if they side in evenly matched. Siding in evenly matched is probably more of a real threat than people who main deck it. So I just wanted to have more avenues to get Destrudo, like either by randomly milling it or by drawing it. Obviously, I probably should have played 3 if I wanted to have that chance of happening, but I couldn't find the space for it, so 2 it was. It actually ended up being okay. I set up Dragster a bunch of times, and then sometimes it's just enough, to get there alongside your other disruptions. We got the Dweller in cases where you side out the Dragster and the Destrudo going second, because I find that Dragster going second typically isn't as good, or sometimes if you want to side out like Tornado Dragon or something, typically it just goes in for matchups where it's good and other cards are bad in, so I like having Dweller as an option. I couldn't fit it in the main deck. I thought Nightmare was better, but it's honestly not better than Dweller. I probably would just main Dweller instead. We got the 3 Twin Twisters, very good. I have no complaints about Twin Twister. It's very strong. Impermanence was the best card in the side deck, hands down. It just was so good, especially against Thunder Dragon, but also against the combo decks. You just can beat them by disrupting them and then setting up your own board. We got double evenly matched. This card was awful. It was just terrible. I never really drew into it, but like I never really wanted to have it either. Like I think I drew it one time and like I just didn't need it because I already had like set up, like I top decked it at a time where I didn't really want it. Obviously that can be attributed to the fact that I only set it 2 and not 3, but again, even if I like had it in an opening hand, there were just times I just didn't need it. But then again, Geist can be a little bit tricky. Like should have probably sided Dino Wrestler Pankratops because Secret Village is a menace and it's really, really hard for this deck to beat. Granted, evenly matched also can take down Village to a degree, but they can flip a trap and then summon Faker if they keep Village anyway, so that's not necessarily the best option. But granted, again, the scenario, they have that same exchange if you have Pankratops, but I digress. I think Pankratops could have just been there and been fine. It also would have helped beat an Inspector Border, which is how I lost my Geist matchup because I didn't deal with it properly. I could have outed it, but didn't happen. And then we got 3 Red Reboot. Card only came in against Geist, of course, but it's nice to have. And the theory is that like if you go first, you can still side and reboot, and then just send it off of the Curious instead of Imperial Order, which obviously you side out, and then set reboot so that they go, oh, well, that means they have a reboot. And then if they try and out it with Meliseek or something, you just flip up your Ranked Magic spell, you Azathoth them, and then next turn, they just can't activate traps and you just OTK them. That's the theory, and it didn't happen because I only played against one Geist, and the time I did get my combo off, I wasn't in a position to send reboot anyway off of the Curious because I got Impermanence Fakered on me, so I had to like make a different play. But it was nice there for the theory, and I think that the theory was pretty solid overall. So that's it for the deck profile. I'm sorry this was super, super long, and you know what? For the regional report, I'm just going to do that in a separate video because I can't be bothered to make this video any longer than it already is. So there you go. But if you did enjoy watching this video, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Leave a like and feel free to subscribe for more content similar to this style of video. and I'll catch you in the next one.